Okay, so let's get started. In the previous session, what we talked about was more about the basics of APIs, how API works. Then we talked about the different types of authentications, like what is API, no API authentication, basic, what 2.2. We have seen all those, and then we implemented no auth and API authentication. Okay. Today, what we will cover is we'll cover that is basic authentication. So, basic authentication is whenever you have a system, you have any third party system, and that third party system says that you need to send me the username and password as part of authentication. That is the basic authentication basically. So, you will have to pass the username and password while making the API call, and that is the process is basically comes under basic authentication. That is the simplest definition of basic authentication. But you cannot pass the username and password in the plain text. What you have to do is you have to base 64 encode the username and password, and there is a complete I would say process for that, for encoding. So what's the process is, you need to create an string which contains username, then it has to be concatenated with colon and then password. This will be your string where username is your actual username, password is your actual password. Then this whole string has to be encoded into base 64 format. Okay, it should be encoded into base 64 format, and then it has to be sent as part of authorization header into the request. And then target system receives that request, they receives the headers, and then they decode the string, whatever the encoded string we have sent, they decode it, and then they split the information from this semicolon, and then they get the username and password. Step 3 is as per my understanding, but I believe that's how the system would be doing. Like they are splitting, because once they're decoded they will get the information in the form of username colon password. So they will split it with colon, and the first, that is 0 index, will be the username, and the second index will be the password, and then they will do some verification. So this is how the pictorial representation says you have got the username colon password, that concatenated string. You did a base 64 encode and you sent the encoded data. This is what happened on the source system. And this is what exactly, if the username is my username colon my password, this would be your base 64 encoded data. Then what target system does is, they said, okay, I've got the encoded data. They will decode it using the base 64 format because the process is same. Then they will get username and password in the concatenated string format, and then they will split it from the colon as we talked about, and then they will get the username and password. So this is what they will be doing. Like they got the encoded format, they encoded it, and they got the string like this. So there is an online tool which is base64.org, which is kind of used for base 64 encoding and decoding, and that we can utilize. So let's say we have created an account in an external system that we will see in a minute, and that the sign in credentials for that external system are my username, or it could be my email colon my password. And if you hit encode, it will give you the decoded format. Okay, you can just click on copy to clipboard to copy it, and from the top, if you say decode in the same URL, and paste your whatever the decode encoded format you have copied, and if you said decode, you will see the same string which we have encoded. So that is something which is an online format that we could do. But if we have to do it in Salesforce, then there is a very important class which we also talked about in the previous session, that is encoding util. So under this encoding util class, there is everything that we need in terms of encoding and decoding. So there are two main classes. One is encoding util. This class has a method. If you see, it says you base64 encode, and this base64 encode actually takes the input, and that is a data type of blob. So what we need to do is we first need to convert our concatenated string into the blob format with the help of blob.valueOf, and then use this method to actually get the base64 encoded format. So that is what here we have written. If you see it here, we have got blob header, and we said blob.valueOf username colon password. These are the variables or custom labels where our username and password are stored. Then we have got auth header. It says basic. Yeah, for basic authentication, the authorization header will always state as basic. There would be a space after basic, and then you need to pass the base64 decoded value. We will see it how to do it in Apex and all. There is another class which is very important, which we will be using in the coming lectures, that is crypto class. Crypto class Salesforce. This class will be used to generate some sort of hash using SHA methods or RSA methods. So basically, we have learned about the encrypted algorithms, right? So this crypto class will be used to create the encrypted version of certain text or certain values with the help of a private key. So this is also one of the class which we will be using in our coming videos. Not today, so we will not cover as of now. So that is about the crypto class that we have. Today, the example that we will talk about for basic authentication, there are multiple systems, like we have got Zendesk. Similarly, we have got a system called Freshdesk, and that is also using basic authentication. Then we have got a system called Kayako. These are some of the systems that we are using. Those are using the basic authentication to integrate with, and we are going to use Zendesk for this purpose. So we will just go ahead and select this Zendesk. We'll register it. Like I have already registered. So this is a link which I have added actually here, so that you all can actually go ahead and don't spend much time on finding out how to register. So if you click on this link, it is kind of will take you to the register process. This is a 9-step process where you have to keep providing the information and you need to log in, and this will create your 14 days trial account. So if you are not doing the practice, like after this session, please do not create, only create the account when you are doing the practice, because after 14 days this will get expired. You can always use another email to register yourself into that account. That is also one thing. Okay, so it will, this, while you will be, like I said, this email, name, phone number, although this is a random phone number, you could see these are just the descending orders numbers. Then just, so this is what very important. You could maybe use your name, company name, because when you use this name, okay, this is going to be your custom domain for Zendesk. I'll show you. Okay, and then if you click on next, you have to just create a password and complete trial setup. Okay, I've already logged in, and the base URL for myself is pantherschools.zendesk. So whatever the company name you will provide, based on that company name, the Zendesk is going to be give you a subdomain, like Salesforce gives a subdomain, right? Similarly, you will get a subdomain. So I think I'm already logged in, but not. So I will go ahead and log in here. Okay, so you will see here that this is a Zendesk system and this is my base URL. So once you're logged in, as we talked about in the previous sessions, it was that we always need to start with the API and whatever the API document is. And even before we start talking about API document, the very first thing that we need to talk about is, or that we need to look into, is the authentication mechanism. What is the authentication mechanism for the API? So for that, the process is same. It could be any API. What you need to do is just go to the new tab, and then here you just need to search for example, you need to say Zendesk API authentication, because that is the first thing we would like to do. So we will say Zendesk API authentication, and you will find security and authentication here. So if you click on security and authentication, this is where you see that this security and authentication, this Zendesk API actually takes three different types of authentication, which is basic, API, and open authentication. Sorry, auth access token. We are going to focus on basic and API token. Both are basically nothing. Both are the part of basic authentication. So we will see how it happens. So if you scroll down here into the basic authentication, you will see that um, to use the basic authentication, password access must be enabled in admin center interface at the apps and integration API, Zendesk API. So if you click on this link, and don't click on that link, okay, because it will take you to a link which is not useful. Go to your Zendesk account and click on this four square brackets if you see, and then say admin center. And once you will go to the admin center, you need to go to apps. This is going to be populated, yeah. Select this apps and integrations. Under apps and integrations, you need to figure it out APIs. Under APIs, there is something called Zendesk API. So select that. Earlier, this password access and token access both were disabled. I actually have enabled those. So you just need to enable password access if you want to use password, or you need to enable the token access if you want to use token. And then click on add API token, and then give the token description. This would be your token. Use it. Okay, I've created 4 days back. So I already have a token. I'm not going to create a new one. So up to here, everyone is on same page. Any confusion, anything? Okay, I'll take the silence as no. So now once we have enabled that security, okay, then it says, if you see here, it says include the base 64 encoded string in an HTTP authorization header as follows. So what it says, the header key should be authorization, and the value that we need to pass is, it is going to be basic space the base 64 encoded string. How they have given here, they said combine your email address and password with a colon. For example, John Doe at example.com colon, this is the password. This is an example that we talked about, and after we encode it, this would be the authorization example after encoding. That is the one thing that we have got. Okay, next thing is, the next authentication method is the API token method for the Zendesk itself. And why we have to use API token? Because what they are saying is, API token are different from auth tokens, which are detailed in the next section that we will not see. And here it says warning, as passwords, API tokens can be used to impersonate anyone's account, including admins. Make sure you keep them secure, because in any API request, if we are sending the password, if anyone has got the access to those encoding values, they can impersonate means they can get into the system, they can do whatever they want, and they can make any changes, right? So to avoid that, Zendesk says that they came up with the concept of API token, where they said that API tokens are also used for basic authentication. They are also used for basic authentication, but there is a different way of using that. You need to create a API token, and you have to prepare the token like this, like your email address / token colon, and then your API token. This is the example that they have given. And then you have to encode this whole string as a part of base 64 encode, and then pass as part of authorization header. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we could implement this. And before we implement this, now as we talked about the authentication, okay, now we need to talk about the API. What is that API? Voice is too low? Seriously? Hello?
No,
Now
it
it is
was
correct.
okay.
Okay, I thought my voice is too low. So, if it's not low, that's good. Yeah, so we talked about authentication. Let's now go to the APIs to see what are the APIs. So first, I think I forgot to give you the overview about Zendesk. Zendesk is basically a system. Zendesk is a system that provides the ticketing man. Zendesk is a ticketing management system. Like it is a, for example, if you are working on, like you have a problem with any of your bank accounts or mobile, or maybe some people used to play Dream 11, some sort of things. So basically, if whenever you have a problem, you kind of call the mobile, like mobile provider, SIM provider, or you call the banking partner, and you ask them that, hey, this is my problem, and then they actually gives you a ticket number, right? They actually gives you a SR number, which is service request number. So what they do is they create some tickets behind the scene. It could be either in Salesforce as a case, or it could be in the systems like Gendex, Freshdesk, or Kayako. And then they give you a number that, hey, this is your number. Keep it secure, and then you can anytime call us and check us what's the status. So similarly, this Gendex is a ticketing management system where you can create the tickets for providing the support to your customers. So if you go to now API reference, so this is your tab where you have to talk about. And then if you see, these are all the capabilities, like we've got ticketing, then we have got, I think, other capabilities like live chat, voice chat, CRM. There are so many CRM. We are only going to focus on ticketings, but if you want, you can always focus on more and more. And I would like to encourage you to go ahead and explore more, integrate more. That would be very good. Okay, so ticketing is the place where we are going to play around. So we have got this ticketing, and under ticketing we've got these tickets. So this is our place where we are going to play around with our API today. On the right hand side, you will find all the operations that are supported with the ticket object. Okay, tickets are nothing, these are the cases. These are the issues or inquiries that a customer has. Now, if you see, there is something called create ticket. And if you go to create ticket, you would see that, okay, it says this is the post request. Post says this is the method. This is the API endpoint. Base URL is, we know what is our base URL. I'll talk about. And then if you see here, this is an example body for creating a ticket in Freshdesk. So far, we have seen how to use a get method, but now we are going to see how to use a post method as well. Okay, so as we have seen, this is a simple body. First, as usual, we are going to give it a try using Postman, because post method does not support it. It's not supported by browser. So this is the endpoints, and our base URL is this. This is our base URL. So whatever your Gendex URL is, that is your base URL for your API. Okay. So go to Postman. Yeah, I have already created one, but I'll show you. Click on new and then HTTP request. So the first thing that we need to change, it is a post method. We will select post. What is the URL? So let's get back to our Zendesk URL. We are going to take this URL here. Okay, paste it here. And then what is it says API v2 and tickets. I think that is the URL. That is the URL that we have. Yes, API v2 tickets. Let's take this body here. Let's copy this whole body. And if you now this is the post method, and in the postman there is something called body. If you see, you need to go to body, click on that, then select raw here, and then from this body, once you select raw, you will find there is something called JSON. So there are different formats, and our API accepts JSON. So we will keep selected at JSON, paste it here and beautify it. So you see here, we got it. We got ticket. It says comment. Body is the smoke is very colorful. Priority is urgent. Subject is my printer on fire. Okay. How do we know what are all the parameters which are supported by this ticket call? That is also a question. For that, if you go back to your API, you will see the first link which says JSON format. And under this JSON format, you will see that they are given the name of the field, they have given the type of the field, if the field is read only or not, if the field is mandatory or not, and the description about that field. So any field which is not read only, you can pass that information. Okay. For example, if we talk about there is something called requester who is actually requesting. Here is requester. Okay, it says it is write only, read only is false. It is a type of object. So if you click on creating a ticket with a new requester, if you open it in a new tab, you will see it says requester. Let me quickly copy this requester part here from this part. Okay, and in the postman we will paste it here, and then there is a button called beautify. If you beautify, you will see it has got beautified. Name is Pablo, and then this is the email. Okay, and now if you try to send it, you will get an error. If you send it, it says cannot or couldn't authenticate you. That means it cannot authenticate yourself. You cannot authenticate it. Okay, it cannot authenticate you. So because we have not provided the authentication mechanism. So to provide the authentication or authorization in Postman, there is a tab called authorization. Click on that tab. By default, the type which says inherit auth from parent, if you select on this, you will find all the authentications that we have discussed earlier. You will find all the authentications available here. And if you select basic auth, you have to provide your username here. And in my case, my username is sfdcpanther@gmail.com, and I'm using the token. Okay, let me go back to API again. API Zendesk API authentication. Okay, Zendesk API authentication. If you come back here, talk about API token, you see that this is how we need to prepare, right? So this part is our username and this part is our password. So in the postman, you say this is my username, okay, for the username, and this API token is my password, which I have already copied from and pasted it here. Okay, API token is my password, and as soon as I use this way and click on send, you will see that I got the ticket created. Now again, if you are wondering from where we got these variables, so just to kind of revision, I have created an environment here with the name Zendesk, and this environment actually have my API token, it has my password, it has my username, and as we talked about, these are the secret values. So I have created type as secret, and then in the request, Zendesk is selected here from the environment on the top right. In your case, if you find some problem, for example, if you find issues like this unresolved variables, that means you have not created your variables or you have not selected your environment from the top right. So make sure you don't do this mistake. Sometimes it happens, and then we usually get lost in the things and we are not able to get the things done. So now if you see the status says 201, that is also important thing. In most of the cases, in 99% of the cases, the post method will always return the status code as 201. Okay, it always returns the status code as 201. So we have seen in case of get, it is returning status code as 200, but in case of post, it returns 201. That these all like 200, 201, 204, these all are the valid status codes. Okay, so in case of post, it is 201. If you see here, we've got a huge JSON body. We've got a huge JSON body, and under the in the top itself we have got a ID which is 26, and then there is a JSON URL as well. So if you copy this JSON URL and go to the browser where you are actually logged in with your Zendesk and kind of paste this URL in the browser and hit enter, you will see the JSON, the same JSON we were able to see, right? Now if you get back to our Zendesk org, this is the tickets, this is the menu for tickets. If you click on this and if you refresh this page, you will find my printer is on fire, Pablo is the requester, 2 minutes ago, priority is urgent. If you click on this, you will find why it is saying like this. What? It's off. Okay, I think there is some theme issue, but that's fine. But if you see, this is the Pablo's email. Saturday, there is no notes. This is what he asked us. Assignee is Amit Singh. By default, it's assigning to me. Priority is urgent. You could also send the type. You could also send the topic. You could send the tags, followers. You could do anything. You could now reply it from here. Like we will take a look. And so, where is this? I think public reply. Okay, but how to reply? I haven't done that, so I'll say submit as open. Okay, yeah, this is here. So that is how basically you create. This is one part of the API where I've talked about. There are other parts of the APIs as well, like you have got requests. Requests are nothing. These are, I think, the public comments and all. You have got, if you keep scrolling, you've got users. These are nothing. These are the agents. If you keep scrolling, you've got organizations, you've got groups, the tags we talked about, right? So kind of, if you see, there are so many options, and if you really want, just to giving you an idea, if you really want, you could even create a complete app using this Zendesk API, and you can do a lot of things like creating tickets, getting the comments related to tickets, assigning it, and control it from Salesforce completely. So that is basically what you could do as part of the Gendex that we have seen. So we have seen how to do it with the help of how to do it with the help of our postman. And I'm not sure how many of you have actually followed me along with this. And now we are going to kind of do it with the help of our Apex classes. Okay, so I'm going to take this token because this is going to be useful. Okay, so far so good. You're good to go and develop this with the help of Apex class.
Yes, Amit. Yeah, Amit.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's now get back to Salesforce first. We will log into our Salesforce org. Okay, where is, yeah. So let's go to Salesforce and create couple of custom labels. So we will create custom labels. We will create custom labels to store our username and our token. Okay, because we don't want to put anything in the code. So here for custom labels, I'll say Gendex username. Okay, and my username is sfdcpanther@gmail.com/token, because this is what we wanted to use, right? This is what we have seen. So we wanted to utilize this token, API token concept for authenticating, and then click on save. And then we also need to create one more token, that is one more label basically, which is Gendex password or Gendex token. You could name it as anything. So you can say Gendex underscore API token, and whatever your API token is, just paste it here and save it. So now you have got the API tokens, right? Next thing is go to our Salesforce org, and we are going to kind of create a new class. We'll say Apex class, and we can say Gendex ticket utils. That is the name of our class. And you all can see it, right? The letters are visible, the words are visible clearly.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's visible.
Okay, let's remove the default constructor and create a method. We'll say public static void, and we'll say create ticket. Okay, this is what we have to do, and this is pretty simple, right? We have already done a lot of things in the previous sessions. So we will say http request, which is going to be http req. We are preparing a http request object where we need to provide couple of things like set endpoint. What is our endpoint? Then set method, then set body, because our method is post, right? In this case, method is post. So if the method is post, most of the APIs will accept, 99% of the APIs will accept a body, and this body should be in the form of a string, and that string should be either XML or a JSON. How we will prepare, we will see that as well. And then we will have http request.set headers, and under that header we are going to give the key, and it's going to be key and value pair. Couple of headers we are going to add. Okay, and then once we've got this, we are going to create the object of http class that is going to give us the interface to call the http method, and within the try catch, as we talked about, call out exception, and then at the end let's catch system.exception. Okay, and then here we have to use the http response equal to http.send and pass the http request. Then use a
Amit,
Yeah.
I was just telling that a variable wasn't assigned there and HTTP response.
Okay. Okay. That is. Then we've got HTTP response. We have to say HTTP response dot get status code. If it is equivalent to 201, then that means it's success. If it is not equivalent to, that means it's an error. Okay, else there is any error. So let's quickly maybe print system.debug, and then let's say, as we talked about, HTTP response.get body is going to be our body, and if that is there in case of error as well. Okay, so I'll say error plus. Okay, and similarly I will do it for success. So we are here, right? We just created a skeleton of our request. Now header, let's start with header. So we will say content hyphen type, which is going to be application by JSON, because we have seen our API accept the JSON format. And similarly, the accept is also going to be an application by JSON. We want to get the response in the JSON format. As of now, let's keep it as body as blank string and point as blank string. This is the main part, which is the authorization, right? So we have to give us a key as authorization. This is our header, and as we talked about, it would be basic space, and that is here our encoding string will come into picture. Okay, so let's quickly prepare the encoding format. As we know that we have what is that? We have got this custom label, which is Zendesk API token. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, let's create a string header equal to system dot label dot Zendesk API token. And we also had one thing. We also had one thing, that is Zendesk username. I think that is what it was. Zendesk username. It was, if we go back here, it is Zendesk username. Yes, correct. So we will take Zendesk username. This is what we prepared. Like we combined the username and password with the colon as a string. Then we need the blob value and we need to convert it. So if we talk about now, if we talk about this encoding util base64 encode method, if you open this base64 encode method, you see that it returns a encode, not decode, encode method. It returns a string value but accepts a blob value, right? Returns a string value and accepts a blob value. So what we are going to do is we are going to say, okay, we've got the authorization header here. Now in the request header itself, we will say encoding util dot base64 encode. It is going to accept the blob of this value, which is header. So we will say blob dot value of our header. Okay, this would be our header, blob dot value of our header, whatever the authorization we are sending from here. This is what we given as part of authorization header. What is the endpoint? For endpoint, let's quickly keep this whatever we had. This is what our endpoint is. We could also keep this endpoint in a custom label and use that custom label over here. But this is not that much sensitive for me, so I'm keeping this as it is here in the Apex class. Then
Amit, just a question. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So in this line 13, you said blob dot value of header. So should it always be in that blob format, or just adding header would work? Or is
It
it
should
just the
always
thing?
it should always be. Let me show you
Okay.
again. We are using the encoding util class, and there is a method called base64 encode. Okay, so if you go to this method base64 encode, what it is taking? It is taking input blob, and it clearly says the data type of this input parameter is blob. So if you pass a string, right, if you just say header here instead of blob dot value of, if you say header, what is the data type of this header? This is a string,
Yeah.
right? It will not accept because the data type, let me show you. Let's quickly go ahead and try to deploy this. If you try to deploy this, you will get an error here in this particular line. And you could see here what it says, exact equality operator. This doesn't, it's not required. But if you see here, it says method does not exist or incorrect signature, right? So in case of base 64, in case of basic, it should always be blob dot value of. Maybe you could create another variable here, which is a type of blob, and you can say header value, and you just put it whatever you have, and then use this header value here. That will also work, but it has to be a blob value. It cannot work with any other value. Okay, I hope that's clear now.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
Amit,
the main.
Amit bhai,
Yeah, hey,
sorry
Harold.
to sorry to interrupt. For a long time, I was struggling to understand how come triple equal to came into Apex. It should have been in the JavaScript, but glad that you corrected it.
Yeah,
Now coming to
it's
my
not here.
question, my question is that yeah, last time we ended the URL in remote endpoints.
Mm-hmm.
So this time, no need.
We will have to. We will. As of now, we're just doing coding, right? As soon as we will start making the API calls, it will give us the error, unauthorized endpoint.
Oh, okay, okay.
And
So even in basic authentication, we still need to have this URL whitelisted.
yeah, until unless we learn the concept of named credential, every time we need to put it in the named credentials. And
Got it.
as soon as we have covered named credentials, no need to add this into the. I will talk about that. That's a separate concept and something which is very cool.
Yeah, Amit, since I just have a question, like it's a high level question, just to understand the flow. So we are talking to Salesforce. In this specific example, we are saying to Salesforce that create a ticket in Zendesk. So that is the
Yeah.
third party for us.
Yes.
First party is me, second party is Salesforce. And all I'm saying, I will do something in Salesforce, but the ticket should be created in third party. And earlier you did it through Postman. So there was no Salesforce involvement there, but this time we are talking to Salesforce. So we will write our Apex test code, and we are saying this is the username, this is the password. We will make it in a specific format which Zendesk likes, and then this is the body, and this should be used to create the ticket.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I think I got the high level idea.
So so
That
basically, it's pretty simple. If you want, I can maybe make it more simple. Like you have a case object in Salesforce. Let's make it pretty simple. You have a case object in Salesforce, right?
okay,
What is your business requirement? Your business says as soon as a case is created in Salesforce, it should be created in Gendex. That is
okay,
the high level things. So now, because because this is a Zendesk is a third party system, you don't have anything which is in place already to create the case in Zendesk. You have two options: either you go with the App Exchange products or you write your own code. As we are here to learn about integration, we will always write our own code.
Okay.
Okay, so we are writing a code here. For that, we said forget about the case triggers or whatever the logic we want to go with, but we are creating a utility class which is going to be responsible for creating the tickets. This class could be responsible for retrieving the ticket as well in future, but as of now we are going to create a class. That class will have a method called create ticket. Later on we will enhance it to accept some parameters, but as of now we are not enhancing. Okay, we will enhance it in some time. But what we are saying is, first, for the foremost time, that should be the process for every developer, until unless you get more comfortable with integration, is to test it with the static values using whatever you have done here in your Postman. So this is your body. We are going to take this body and then we are going to test this with the help of our Apex code. And if this says that okay, you made it working, then we will go and then enhance it for accepting the parameters.
Okay.
Okay.
Just coming to an unrelated question. This is another follow-up question. So when you go to Zendesk and you create an account there, uh,
Mm-hmm.
they just won't give you username and password. They will give you something else as well, which is the long random numbers which you got, and you are trying to use it in some sort of where is it, in which line you are doing it? I think line 9. So you are using your username, which is Amit at sfdc, then colon, and that long string.
Mm-hmm. So it depends. It depends on the API document. Okay.
Okay.
So that's why the first step is to always read the API document. Talk about authentication. Look at what the authentication for that API says, how it does look like. In our case, it was basic. So basic is always username, colon, password. It has to be converted into the blob format. The blob format has to be encoded into base 64 format. That is the base 64 industry standard. It cannot be changed. Sorry, it cannot be changed for any username and password authentication or any basic authentication. So Gendex says that if you want to make the API call, you have to use the basic authentication. Either use username and password, but password can be used to impersonate any account. Then they have given us the ability to use the API token, and that API token is actually something that we have to generate by our own, which we have already seen in the starting. How to generate
Okay.
that? Like if you go to your Gendex account and go to the admin center, just reiterating, if you go to
Okay.
Gendex account, admin center, apps and integrations, under apps and integrations, under API, Gendex API, you have to enable these. Like if you don't want to enable the password access, disable it. It will basically be disabled initially. It will be disabled. If you want to use password to access the API, enable it. If not, enable this token access. It will also be disabled. You have to enable it. And this is something I created 4 days back. So you have
Okay.
to click
Okay.
on add. You have to click on add API token, and this is your token which you are using as a password.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So Zendesk has a very secure way of allowing you to integrate, which is not just password but API token as well, which you have to do some special steps like the way you had shown by toggling these buttons. That way we can enable the API token for ourselves. So it is a better
Yeah,
and secure way. Okay, I think I got it. Thank you so much.
yeah, no worries. So we were talking about setting the body here now. So we know that we have got this JSON. How we are going to convert this JSON into body? Okay. So if you if you talk about this, let's copy this JSON body again, okay, and then go to Google. That admin booster is going to be our friend every time we work with integration. So go to adminbooster.com or search for admin booster JSON to Apex, okay, and then paste your JSON here. Click on generate code, and this time we are not going to took the classes, we are going to took this JSON string JSON. This is what I'm looking for. Let's take this and get back to our VS code and paste it here. So this is our request body. It already converted the JSON in the JSON format in such a way that it is a string. Now we can just change the variable to request body, and then set it here for body. As of now, you see the body comment is kind of static, the priority is static, subject is static, requester ID is static, like the name, email, and local ID. Everything is static. Now let's go ahead and deploy this. In the meantime it's deploying, let's take this endpoint, because we know that we have to add this as a remote site setting. So we need to go to Salesforce. From the setup, navigate to remote site settings, and then click on new remote site. Give the name, this is Zendesk, and save it. So we've got this remote site setting is done, and I believe the code is also deployed. Yes, code is deployed. Let's take
Amit,
this.
this is
Yeah,
Sagar. I have a
hey
question.
Saga.
Why can't we use JSON.stringify method where we can able to convert this entire JSON to string, right? We can do
Okay,
that or not?
we can do that, but that's not I would say to convert JSON.stringify is used to convert object into a string, right? And we don't have any object as of now with us. Don't have any object as of now. It is a kind of JSON. If we talk about the postman thing, that is a JSON. It's not an object. There is no object.
Okay.
In
Yeah.
in in Salesforce, it has to be either an object or a class. We have nothing, right? So we cannot use deserialize or serialize as a part of this process. That's why we have used this way to create a string. You could
Got it.
always as you have used admin booster to get the string, you could do the same way for getting the apex class. You have to do the other way, but this is the way which I found it easy, so I do it this way.
Got it.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, so we have deployed it. Now if we go back to our org and open the developer console, we actually have to test it now. So let's take the class name, and method name is create ticket. So we'll go to developer console, execute anonymous, and we'll say create ticket and execute. Let's open the logs, execute it, and if we click on debug only, we see that success is there. We got the ticket 27 has been created. And now if we go back to our Zendesk system, as of now, we refresh this page. Okay, I'm logged in at two different places. You will see this is our Pablo less than a minute ago, which is, if you open it, you will see the ticket ID is 27. That means our ticket, our Apex class is working perfectly fine. Now, as we have tested that class is working fine, now we can go ahead and start enhancing it, right? To enhance it, like body is one part where we need to make it dynamic, priorities should be dynamic, subject should be dynamic, the requester name and email should be dynamic. right? So let's create an inner class here. We'll say public class, and let's say ticket wrapper. Okay, sorry. And here we will create variables, public string, let's say body. We're going to create subject. It's going to be subject. It's going to be priority. And then we'll create name and email. These are the 5 parameters we are creating. And now in case of our method, what we will do is we will say accept the instance of this apex class, which is ticket wrapper. And this apex class actually going to have all the details we need. Now under this wrapper, now this wrapper has body, which is going to have the body here. So what we will do is we'll say okay. Now this is a string format, so just select all because we need to make it dynamic. Remove everything, use 2 single quotes and then 2 plus sign, and between the plus use the variable. So wrapper dot body is the variable to get the body. Similarly, we have to do it for priority as well. We have to do it for subject. We have to do it for name. We have to do it for email. All we need to do is we need to change the parameter names. That's it, the variable names. Anyone has any confusion so far? How we created this dynamic body? Why we created this ticket, which is in ticket wrapper inner class? Anyone has any confusion?
No, Amit.
Okay, so we are clear, right? Now we are done. Let's go ahead and deploy this. And this time, if you want, you can test it by passing the variables some parameters. For example, what you have to do is to test it, because this ticket wrapper class is inside PS Zendesk ticket utils class. So you have to create the object something like this dot ticket wrapper. You'll say wrapper equal to a new, and then this. I hope this all concept is already know, because that's the basic apex. And then you have to say wrapper dot body, whatever the body you want, and similarly repeat it for subject, priority, name, and email. You can say email, name, priority, subject. So body, we would say let's say dynamic body. Subject is testing from Salesforce Apex. Priority is urgent. Name is, let's say this time I'm saying Amit Singh. Email is I'm going to just say something like this, and then call this method which says psindexutils.create ticket and pass this wrapper. Okay, this all has to be inside a comment. This all has to be inside a comment, and I would say example.org. That's fine. Now let's copy this code. Okay, also deploy it, and once it is deployed, we'll go to Salesforce.org, and then we will again run this code. Now this is what our code is. Let's run it. So if we see a success message, that means the wrapper concept is also working fine. The code has been executed. If you filter it, you see now the 28 ticket number is created. If you go back to Zendesk, change the URL from 27 to 28 and refresh this, you will see this time the requester is me. Okay, you will see the requester. What the hell is this? Requester is Amit Singh. Email is whatever I've given. Locale is basically, this is what the locale, you remember 8, whatever we have given. And then this is what the dynamic body is, whatever we sent as a reply, right? Sorry, we have sent as a request body. This is our subject. That means everything is working fine. Now, if you want, you can go ahead, create a trigger on Apex, create a trigger on Salesforce. So I will have to definitely showcase this part. So let's create an Apex trigger. So we will create a trigger, sfdx create Apex trigger, and I'll say case trigger case trigger on case after insert. Okay, and I'm going to call another method called case trigger handler. This is my class which we will be creating, and we will say handle after insert, and we will say let's pass trigger.new. That means it is a list of case. Okay, now let's create this Apex class as well, which is case trigger handler, and it will have a method called public static void handle after insert that will accept the list of case, and we will give the name as new records, the variable. Let's deploy this class for the time being, that we have just a small method, and let's deploy the trigger as well. So now what we are doing is, whatever the scenario we discussed, that there is a case object in Salesforce. As soon as a case is created in Salesforce, that has to be created in Zendesk. Okay, and once the case is created in Zendesk, the Salesforce case should be updated with the Zendesk ticket ID. Okay, that's what we need to do with the Zendesk ticket ID. So to store this Zendesk ticket ID, we will create a custom field on Salesforce, which would be Zendesk ticket ID. That you could always do it. Creating a field is pretty easy, but we will focus on making the call out. So now, if you know, okay, does anyone know? Can we directly make a call out from Apex trigger or not?
No,
Anyone?
we can't.
Yes, through future methods.
Okay, no, we cannot. Yes, through future. Okay. Anyone else who can maybe? Okay, let me kind of maybe make this question interesting. I want to make the call out from an Apex trigger, but I don't want to use future methods. Can I still do that?
We can do that, but by the time the response comes back, it might fail, or I don't know. This is synchronous, that is not.
Okay, that is not correct. We cannot make an API call out with. We cannot make we cannot make any synchronous call out using triggers. So that we can never do. That we know. But what question is, okay? The question is, I want to make a call out from Apex trigger, but I don't want to use future method. Do we have any other method? Do we have any other capability for this?
Sensing through flow, but I'm not sure.
No, the question is from trigger itself.
Amit bhai, I'm not sure on that, but I came across an annotation which you have to mention, and then it has something to do with call out in a trigger.
Okay. So when we just forget about this. When we say future method, what does future method mean?
That Salesforce will decide when that future method will be executed whenever it has resources.
Okay, that is correct. Okay, no worries. So we will come back to that question. I'll tell you the answer. Okay. So what we did is we got the triggers. We got a trigger on case. We've created the handler method, and we have created a private static method which is going to make the call out. Okay, not call outs, make the call out. Now, what we have to do is we have to kind of prepare this for each case which is getting created, right? We have to prepare this each case. Let's say, let's paste it here. Now we have got multiple cases, so we will have to use a for loop for, and we'll say case C colon new records. Case C colon new records, and for each case we are going to prepare it. So we will say body is going to be C dot description. There is a field called description on case. Subject would be C dot subject. Priority would be C dot priority dot to lowercase, because everything is in lowercase, so we will convert whatever we have got is going to be to lowercase. As of now we will select urgent only, but this is something which is you have to see what are all the priority accepted by Zendesk. You cannot pass anything else which is not accepted by Zendesk. Okay, but for our testing purpose we will use urgent so that our code will work. But when you will be implementing this in real time, you need to figure out what are the accepted value by Zendesk. For that you have to go to the Zendesk API under the ticketing. If you go to tickets, not request, tickets, go to JSON format and search for priority. You will find urgent, high, normal or low. These are the only allowed values, so you can only pass these values only. You cannot pass anything else from Salesforce. Okay, and then what is the name? It is wrapper.name. Assuming that every case will have a what we say, assuming that every case will have a contact. As of now, let's assume that every case will have a contact, or let's say we have got Amit Singh, and then we have got email, whatever we are here putting as a kind of static values. Rest all is coming as a dynamic. The reason I'm not getting there, because we have to first of all make a SQL query on case to get the contact details and then populate, because in the trigger.new you don't get the parent record information. So that is why I have made it as hard code. But when you will implement, please try to implement with this making a SQL query and then getting the contact detail and using that contact over here. Now once you have prepared this, all you need is you need to call this method. I don't think this is even needed. No, this is needed. This is a kind of needed. The reason it is needed, I'll tell you. So let's accept this. So the reason we are kind of using another private method which is accepting the ticket wrapper class, because our future method cannot accept the list of records. We cannot pass the list of S objects into our future method. Okay, so that is the one thing that we have done it. This is clear, right? No confusion. If still there is confusion, we can go ahead and clear this. Okay, looks like it's clear. So we have called this method, accepted the list of case records, and we are iterating with one by one case record, calling another private method, and then passing actually calling the PS Zendesk ticket util method to create the ticket in Zendesk. Up to here everyone is clear, right?
Yeah.
So now the coming back to question, we said that we want to make a call out from apex trigger, but we don't want to use future method. So what actually future method does? Future method is actually a way, or I would say future method is a way of executing some piece of code in near future whenever the Salesforce resources are free. So what are all other asynchronous ways? Because future method is nothing, ultimately it is an asynchronous process. So what are all other asynchronous processes that we have? We have keyable apex, that is also a asynchronous process. And then we have uh, batch apex, that is also an asynchronous process, right?
Amit bhai, sorry to interrupt you now. I should have asked it 1 minute before when you had asked me. Line 15 to 17, that looks like a synchronous code. It's not asynchronous. But few minutes back you said with synchronous we can never do callout.
Yes, we can never do. I have not finished
So,
yet.
so line 15 to 17, will that be some? Is that just to to help us explain, or it's actually going to work?
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. That's what I said. I'm not done yet with the code. There has to be
Okay.
some changes. There has to be some
Oh,
changes.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So okay. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. So that's what I was saying. Like, it is like what we have to do is we kind of have to understand what exactly the future is. Future is a asynchronous process. If we don't want to make the call out using the future from a trigger, we still have the options for queuable and batch apex. So we could always go with queuable and batch apex to make the callouts from the trigger itself. The only thing that we need to keep in mind is the limits of asynchronous processes, which we already, in case of future as well, in case of anything, we have to worry about the limits. Okay. So now we are going to use future method, definitely not queuable, but I was just telling you that there is a process. So we will use future, and under the future, there has to be an attribute path which is call out equal to true. So this is what the complete code is. Now if we deploy, this is still going to create a problem, but when we will see that as well. It says future method doesn't support the parameter type of yes. We cannot pass the object. That is also a bad thing in case of future method. That's why I prefer keywable to make the callouts from Apex triggers. Okay, so that is fine. That is fine. What we have to do is now, okay. So what I will do is now, I'll accept the string as a parameter, and then we will convert that string. Okay, we will convert the string into object, which is our class in our case. And we have already seen how to convert the string into object. So we are going to use json.deserialize method, deserialize, which is going to accept the string and the type for which we want to convert, and we know that it is going to return an object, so we will say convert it into our object. And to pass the value, we will say json.serialize, I mean converting the object into the string. So this is kind of some workaround that we did. Okay, converting the object into a string. I hope this is clear. No confusion. Everyone is clear with this?
Uh, yes, Amit, but I have one question.
Okay.
I don't think it's related at this time, but just a general question. Like on the daily basis, I think we have limit of 250,000 call out, right?
It depends on the org addition.
Yeah. So is it possible, like the cases can be created more than 2 lakhs in a day, or something. So actually, generally, how we deal with this situation?
Yeah, please hold on for this. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So we have deployed this, everything is working fine. We are done, we passed that information, the ticket is getting created and all. Not created because we have not tested, but our code has been deployed. Now, if we get back to Salesforce, wherever we are logged in, and we try to create a case, let's try to create a case. Okay. Let's try to create any case. It could be open or whatever. So I'm going to clone this existing case, which will have some body at least. It will have some contact. I'm not working on this. Make sure priority is high or medium or low. I think that's fine. High. Then we have got some subject. Let's put some description as well. Just copy pasting the subject only and save it. Hopefully it should work. Otherwise we'll get the error here itself. I believe it worked. But to see that, we have to go to Zendesk and go to tickets. And I don't think it will. Maybe it's because of future methods. It will take some time, or it might have given some error. Could be anything. Okay. It could have given the error as well. I think it has given the error. So to see what could be the error, we have to turn on the debug log on. So let's turn the debug log on and click on edit, or you can also click on new. I believe everyone knows how to turn the debug log on, so I'll not go there. So I've got this debug log on for me. I will again clone the same case, will do nothing. High priority is there, I would say low, and save it. And this is done now. If we go to debug log, here we will see if there is any feature method logs we have got or not. So this is feature handler. This is the log we have got. Click on view. Okay, we've got view. So, okay, request body is correct. Okay, we got some error. It says unprocessable entity 422. Okay, unprocessable entity 422. What's this is unprocessable entity? Server could not parse the JSON. Okay, server is not able to parse the JSON. No worries. What we have to do is we have to put some debug logs in our utility class. And what is that debug log? This wrapper is here. We have to print this request body to understand what exactly the issue that we are getting. Okay, and this will happen. I'm doing it at the runtime. That's what is happening with me as well. So when you will do, you will also get the errors. So what we did is we kind of said that, okay, let's go ahead and print the request body. So we understood whatever we are getting in the JSON format and what exactly the problem is creating. And I think I got to know what the problem is, and that I will try to fix now. Okay, so let's quickly delete this debug log, get back to the case. And this time we will clone this case, and what we will do is we will remove the second line. We will keep only one line. Okay, we will keep only one line for the description, or let's actually keep the two lines, because that's how we will know what exactly the problem is, and I want you guys to actually see it. So if we save this, and then again I'm going to clone one more case, and this time we'll keep only one line and save it. So I've created two cases. So let's go ahead and refresh this page. Once we refresh, this is our aura handler with 10 KB. If we go and open it, and this is the second one. So there are two handlers. Once you open the debug log, to see whatever your debug that you have added is, there is a easy way for that. Just use Control F and say user underscore debug. So this is for the second case which we have created, and it says error unprocessable entity. Okay, we got this error. So let's quickly maybe take this JSON, whatever the JSON we have. Okay, so I've got this JSON, taken it, and to verify if the JSON is correct or not, there is a website called Code Beautify, and under that website there is JSON viewer tool. Just use that tool to view the JSON. Okay, there is a problem. Where is that problem? Yes, you see the problem. This is because of we have added two line, and as soon as we added a two line, it actually created a problem. It did a line break, and as soon as it did a line break, it actually becomes a problem for us. And as soon as we remove that line break, we see that the JSON is valid. And there is another debug. If we see the second case, and I guess this has given us the success response. Yes, ticket ID is 29. That is why I created kind of two things, two tickets, two cases to show you, because I actually got that problem. So you see, this is our case now created. Now there are two problems we have. One, there was a question earlier. Second, this new lines, right? So I'm not going to fix this new line problem, because for that we have to write some sort of regex to replace the new lines with a space. So maybe you can just Google it, how to replace special characters from a string in Salesforce. You will get the solutions out there. Like you just say how to replace special characters in a string from Salesforce Apex. So if you will do this, you will kind of get the information like there is a replace all, and there are so many solutions people had added. So just Google it and you'll get the information. Coming back to the question that we have is, the cases could be created in bulk, and future method, there is a limit. We can only add 50 future method in a single transaction. So if you're creating multiple cases, this concept is not going to work. And let me tell you, this is not the best solution. This is not the best solution in case of you are creating the multiple records. If you're creating multiple records at a time. So for that, what you have to do is you have to prevent your trigger call. You prevent your trigger call. You could even prevent the trigger call from here itself. You say if there is a class called system, we all know there is a method called isFuture, which tells if this Apex class method has been called because of a feature method, or there is a method call which tells if that there is a bulk execution, system.isBatch. So if any of these is happening, we don't need to make a call out. We have to quickly return our code from here. Why? We cannot make a bulk call out from an Apex trigger. This is something. First, there are two things. One, it's not recommended to make bulk callouts from Apex trigger. Secondly, Salesforce doesn't support the bulk callout from Apex triggers. You can try to come up with some sort of keyable jobs, but those are again going to be kind of time consuming. Maintenance is going to be high, and all those kind of things. So whenever you are creating the cases bulk with the data loader or some tools like MuleSoft or any other middleware tools, it is always recommended to uh, disable your callout using some sort of configuration, and then use some batch Apex, something some sort of things to make the callouts. That is something is the best approach to call out for the multiple records. If there are multiple records getting created, use the batch apex approach to send those details to the external system, maybe within 25 minutes or within days. That kind of things you have to do. So that is the approach you have to follow in order for bulkification of this in callouts from apex trigger. And for that, you can maybe you already have a option, right? Because what we said is we are going to store the Zendesk ticket ID on the case. So you have to go to Salesforce case object, create the field which is called Zendesk ticket ID, and that is a number field. So you have to create a number field here, number field. There should be a number field, and you say Zendesk ticket ID. It should be maybe, I would say 50. Click on next, and save a new. Now in your code, in your apex class, you have already done you have already seen how to get the exact value which you are looking for from a JSON and then put it into the object fields that you have seen in case of open case geocoder. So you can once the response is success, you could use the apex class deserialize method to, like, you could use apex class and then get the information. You could do that, right? So that is something that I would leave on you guys to go ahead and make the changes as part of this status code wherever success. If there is any error, maybe you can create a text area rich field or text area field. If there is any error, update the case record as well. You might have to make some tweaks for by accepting some sort of case ID as well as part of input so that you can update it. Feel free to do that. So before we go to the next part, next topic, any questions so far, any confusion? Like we've just covered, like this is a basic authentication, but looks like we have covered most of the things related to basic authentication. Most, like we have covered even like everything, not most, we have covered everything. Any confusion so far or question?